Quick thanks to Editor X for partnering with me on the Freelancer X community. This community would not be possible without their backing. And for those who don't know about Editor X, it is my favorite web building platform. You can create amazing, intuitive, modern, highly effective websites with drag and drop and amazing other features. Check it out at editorx.com. Alrighty, greetings everyone. Welcome to the Freelancer podcast. I'm very excited for this chat, but before I even get into the chat, I want to give a quick intro. So as a web designer or developer, it is extremely beneficial to stay up to date with design trends. Why? So that we can make better websites and more relatable websites, but also that we can push the boundaries. So Editor X just went live with an incredible resource, the best design trends in 2022 so far. And I'm excited to be chatting with two designers from the team. So I have with me Vahdi and Eliran from Editor X, where we will talk about the nuggets of this report. So with that said, welcome, and please do introduce yourselves.
Hi everyone, I'm Eliran. I'm a brand designer on Editor X design team.
Mm-hmm. And I'm Vahdi. I'm a design lead at Shaping Design, also on the Editor X design team. If anyone doesn't know, Shaping Design is a web application by Editor X that covers creative fields, especially web design, and is a great inspiration for designers.
Yeah, great. And I mean, you've summarized it incredibly well. And that was pretty much my question. How would you explain Shaping Design, if maybe there's anything else that you would want to add to that?
I think I explained the thing, but we especially we especially talked about UI, UX design, web design, everything that is digital design.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, I went through it and it's really, really incredible. I'm actually sharing it with my audience today, so they don't know about it yet, but I'm really excited. So I've got some questions. I wanted to structure this conversation, so I've got some questions for you. So let me just go ahead and start with them. So you've done a lot of research. I mean, one can clearly tell that you've done a lot of research into the biggest design trends of 2022. Can you just give us like an overview of what exactly this is, and more importantly, what stands out to you after doing this research and actually looking at the outcome of it?
Yeah, sure. So as designers, we are exposed to the world of design and are excited to see trends take shape and influence the design industry. So that's why we discussed. That's why we decided to create the report about the trends on shaping design. As I said, the publication by Editor X. In the report, we focused on digital design trends that we thought had an impact of design on designers. As I see it nowadays, trends emerge quickly. So we decided to create this report in the middle of the year to capture the moment, so that the trends will still be relevant the time we publish them.
Yeah, awesome. And is there anything that like stands out to you in terms of the actual trends itself that you found interesting, perhaps, or that you want to maybe share?
Yeah, sure. I think one of the most interesting things that came up from the research, to me personally, was to see how fast trends can change. Even in our trend report, before we finished working on it, we already saw new trends emerge. So all the hype about AI art already started, and now that's what everybody's talking about. At the same time, it's really interesting to see that while it come and go quickly, trends can also repeat themselves. Like I feel that at any given time, there is some trend that deals with nostalgia. For example, in our report, we have a trend called web kitsch, and it's talking about the early stages of the internet. But I remember that just a while ago, the hot trend was the 80s aesthetic. So I think sometimes it might change, but it's always dealing with nostalgia and looking back at the past while taking influence from the aesthetics and mixing it with current design.
Yeah. I love that. And now that you mentioned that web kitsch, it was quite fascinating because it's like so old school, so like retro in a way. And when I saw that, I was like, wow, that actually makes sense. And I like the examples that you also gave. That was really cool. So yeah. And okay, so the next question I have is, you mentioned the metaverse, AI, and all of that. I mean, it's gaining a lot of popularity. I mean, probably Web3 is a bit old school now. It's more like Web5. But just in terms of the metaverse research that you guys did, can you share any insights specifically into this area? Because it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, so I feel that everything started with the beginning of COVID-19 epidemic. Well, because everyone was in quarantine and our routine changed, so we asked ourselves, how can we meet if not physically? So we had to find a solution for social gatherings and social interactions. I think the immediate solution was in a virtual space. It started with, simple video chat meetings as we do now, and slowly evolved into social events that happened virtually. For example, galleries and museums started virtual tours. And actually, last year, we also did a report predicting future trends. And the first trend was called life on screen. So in my opinion, this was the beginning and the basis of the metaverse trend. So for today, we experience it in a more extreme way. Virtual fashion shows, virtual stores have been created. Users on games can create their own avatar. They can buy clothes for their avatar. All that we can do with our free time has grown in the virtual space. It's pretty much crazy to me.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the crypto people, because for them they just think the metaverse is just the whole crypto side, but there's so much more to it. And what was interesting when I looked at it was the fashion, the digital fashion side. I mean, that was like amazing when you guys also put that together. But yeah, it's very interesting to see this whole trend and how that's going to shape things going forward. So actually on that, it seems that fashion and e-commerce stores will move, or are currently moving, from like almost like a 2D to like a 3D VR sort of vibe digitally. Do you have anything maybe you can share on that front?
Yeah, definitely. So I think 3D fashion is taking place in a lot of ways. And in our report, we focused mainly on the virtual aspect of it and how it answered the new needs that came from the metaverse. I think companies recognize the need of people to express themselves through fashion, also in the virtual space. We saw the beginning of this trend in games like Fortnite, where people can customize their characters by buying clothes and accessories. And as the metaverse will grow, I think we will see more fashion brands get into digital fashion. I think it's really interesting because we can see the fashion get stretched to its limit. First of all, because people are dressing their avatar and not themselves. Therefore, they are making bolder choices. And because digital fashion doesn't have the limitation of traditional fashion, like in traditional fashion, in most cases, the design is dictated by functionality and materials. So I think this trend is like every designer's dream. They now can create design that could not exist in the physical world. Think like hovering accessories, crazy materials, extreme silhouettes.
Yeah, and I think that's like a perfect example of like pushing design boundaries. You know, it's really amazing. And just a quick side note. So I've done some work and continue to do some work for like an e-commerce store in the furniture industry, and I can clearly tell the trends are moving to the metaverse sort of VR sort of vibe. So it's quite amazing to be witnessing this. So actually, this is an important question I have. So you spoke about the future in a way, like you mentioned, like future report on last year, and you guys got that design trend. So you were prophetic in that sense. What would you say is next for digital design? What do you see like a trend heading forward?
Well, as you said, that's a very good question. Just let me put my future glasses. Yeah. So as we discussed earlier, trends emerge and change very quickly. Like the AI art Eliran talked about before. I'm sure you heard about it. The system, the lead 2, because it's all we hear people talking about lately. So the lead 2 is an AI system that creates realistic images based on a description entered by a person like you and me. This amazing technology has the potential to change the role of visual creators, in my opinion. I'm sure this trend will develop into more extreme places. Who knows? What else can AI do in the world of design? Will AI replace designers, Kyle? I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's a really interesting one because when it comes to AI, there's almost no limitations to a degree. I watched this interesting YouTube videos. I think it's called "Humans Need Not Apply." I think it's got like 10 million or something views, and it's incredibly fascinating. This is a few years old, talking about how AI is also creative, how it can also compose songs. You know, and if you think about it, like there's a logical element when it comes to this. So, for example, let's say I want to build a house. You know, on this thing, I could say, take a picture of my plot, put it into AI. I can pretty much negate architects eventually because it can come up with 20 different proposals within my budget and whatever, all like in a minute. So if you think about it, it's pretty interesting. It's pretty fascinating where things are heading. In terms of your question directly, will it replace designers? That's an interesting one because also with like GitHub Copilot and all these AI code things, I've had that question a lot. Will it replace developers? Will it replace designers? And I think we'll definitely head to a place where, for example, business owners could say to this AI, let's say DALL-E or whatever other AI, hey, I'm creating a fashion store selling, fashion clothes. Create a website for me, and give me 5 different options. It could possibly get there. It seems like it's heading that way. So now it seems like that's going to replace a lot of web designers and developers, which is true. We can't negate that fact. However, I think that there will be other things that are going to come from that, because just like the Industrial Revolution and everything, it took away a lot of jobs, but it also created new jobs. I think that's important to adapt. And I think it's new frontiers. So we can make assumptions, but we actually really don't know, So I think it's very important to be flexible and not have the mindset of like with like Henry Ford, when he came out with a car, people were riding horses, and he famously said, if I asked people what they wanted, they would have probably said a faster horse, So I think it's very important to like be open-minded and to adapt in that front. That's my answer. I don't know. Would you have anything else to say to that, or what are your thoughts on that?
I think I don't know if AI can replace a human designer completely, but it can be a very good tool for designers in finding like a specific image just by description, so it can save our time. Or I think this tool can help designers to create, I don't know, some storyboards or something like that, but not designing a project from scratch, because I think a machine does not have the ability to understand the nuance and the creative thinking that a human designer has. So as designers, I think that as a designers, we're taking inspiration not only from web, we take inspiration from every aspect of life, like nature and weather and emotions, things I experience in my day, talks I had with my friends. Those are all things I cannot break into data.
Yeah. I mean that's a good point. So it's really going to be interesting to see what lies ahead with that. Okay, so I've got a final question, and I think probably I would say this is like the most important one, because we've spoken a lot about various different things, and essentially the interesting insights and theory in a way, but on a practical level, based on your findings, based on our conversation that we've just had now, what advice would you give to web designers?
So I think the best advice I can give to web designers is not to skip the research and inspiration step of the design process. I think it's really important to see what other designers are doing, to identify the trends at their early stages and react while they're still relevant. But that being said, I think every designer has his own aesthetic and style, and I would be thoughtful on what trends to use. I would choose the trends that complement my work and try to create something new that takes the trend to the next level. And most importantly, dare to create something new and unique, and you might start the next trend.
Yeah, wow. I love that last line. Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen, this has been an amazing conversation. I don't know if you have maybe anything else you want to add, or are you comfortable with what we've discussed so far?
Yeah, I think we covered it all, but we had a great time working on that project. The research, the designing the page, it was an amazing experience for us.
Definitely. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, and for those who want to check it out, actually you must check it out if you've heard this podcast. Otherwise, I don't want you listening to this podcast. So definitely check it out. It's really worthwhile. Even the landing page is like awesome, like the animations and the interactive sort of approach. It's beautiful. It's really presented really nicely. So really well done. And also, I watched yesterday. I watched the panel. There was a discussion of 4 people in collaboration with EditX and Dribble. I know Brad Hussey was in there and 3 others as well. And it was really, I mean, they go into a lot of detail. I think it's about an hour and a half long. So if one wants to look into more detail on that, I would also encourage you to do that. I think let's just wrap it up. This has been short, valuable, to the point, amazing answers. I've learned a lot from this report and from you. It was awesome chatting to you, Eliran and Viret. Thank you so much. And may you have a fantastic weekend ahead, and I'll chat to you soon.
Thank you
Kyle.
so much. Thank you.
Thank you.